Welcome back to another live and amplified Indie Fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we're back at it again with another amazing podcast. We are smack dab in the middle of our pancreatic cancer fundraiser, and we have our next guest with us. We have Katie James. How's it going today?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. It's Monday, which usually is a little bit of a downer day, but I don't know,
No,
the energy's there. So
yeah, it's a fresh new week. It's endless possibilities.
right. So how's everything been going? You just released a EP not too long ago.
I
So
did. I did. Everything's been going really well. Very, very productive. I have new stuff that's gonna be coming out in the new year. Just a lot of exciting things, honestly.
nice. How's the reception of your EP been?
It's been really good. It's been really good. I did some like promotion for one of my songs, but then some other ones that I didn't do like any promotion for like kind of popped off a little bit. I was like, "Oh, I'm so glad to see that people like specifically liked this one." I was like, "That's so cool."
Nice. And the name of the EP is Country with a
Country with a
Twist.
twist.
Yeah, okay. I saw that and then I saw the name of the song and I was like, well, maybe because sometimes Spotify does some weird things on me and it's just like,
Oh.
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's the title track, yeah.
Cool. And so how long have you been sitting on this project or how long has it kind of been in the works?
Yeah, so it was interesting. The way I did this EP, I feel like a lot of people will pick the songs for their EP and they're like, these are my 5 songs or
Yeah.
whatever, how many, and I'm gonna make the EP. But I felt like my songwriting has been constantly improving, and like every time I write a new song, I'm like, oh my gosh, I love it way more than the last one. And so when I like went to my producer, I was like, I have this one song and I want it to be on the album, and that was Country with a Twist because I wrote that song actually a really long time ago, like in 2022. So
Hmm.
and I went to him in like September, October of 2023. And I was like, okay, I want to make an EP. I want this to be on it. And I was like, but hear me out. I don't know anything else that I want to be on it, but let's start the project. And he was like, okay. And so then I would be like writing music, and then I'd be like, hey, I kind of like this one. I'd send it his way and be like, EP potential. Or like I would have like my guitarist and my producer come into a room. I'd play them a couple of songs, and they're like, "No, that third one, that's the one that's going on," kind of thing. And so
Hmm.
it was a really interesting way to make an EP, but I really liked the process. And so that way, like, I wasn't like, "Oh no, all these songs are outdated." By the time I finally got it out, like, no, it
Yeah.
didn't feel like that at all. So, yeah, it was an interesting process, but it was really fun.
Nice. And was this project in the works already when we had you on the podcast last time? Because I think it was right around the end of the
No.
summer.
I think the idea was in the works, but it was not quite in the works. So,
Okay.
because I think I came in a little bit after I had like released Better Strangers, was it? I don't,
Yeah, it was I think it was like either right after Better Strangers.
or Make Me
Was
Look.
no, Make Me Look. I don't think that was still like the winner.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't in the works quite yet, but the
Yeah.
gears were grinding that I knew I wanted to make an EP because like I've heard for like indie artists that like it's really important just to put out singles after singles after singles. And I was like, well, I feel like I've made all these songs that I'm really proud of,
Yeah.
that I would just want to put out in a chunk. So I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make a little EP.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those things where it's like at this stage in the game, if you do it right, yeah, it's a risk putting out a bigger body of work, but
Right,
at the end
right.
of the day, it's like you're
Yeah, it
young.
was more so I just wanted to get more stuff out there. And like while at this point I think my songwriting has improved even from that EP,
Mhm.
I'm still proud of like the work that I put into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And 100%. So kind of looking back on this project, you said you're already kind of even working on the next one coming
Yeah.
out in 2025, which it's so weird to think 2024 is almost
It's
over. Yeah.
crazy. I keep seeing stuff all over like my Instagram being like, there's less than 90 days left in like 20. I'm like, oh my gosh, like where did it
What
go?
what would we do? Like I just
Honestly,
but that's honestly kind of become some kind of good sign because it's like 2024 was a good year for a lot of
it was
people.
a good year. It was fast but good.
Yeah. It was like a lot of growth. I saw a lot of musicians. Like I feel like 2023 was kind of like that year where everybody was trying to find their footing coming
Yeah,
off of the pandemic because like
that's so
20
real.
2022 was kind of like there were still restrictions in place and it was still a
Mhm.
little weird. And then 2023, people were kind of finding their footing. And then this year, I just feel like everybody just hit the ground running and went. So,
That's so true with like tour and everything going
yeah,
back like full send. It's like it's no longer we're working things out. It's like we're running now. Like
yeah, yeah, we're going. We're not going to stop. So that's
yeah. Oh,
cool.
yeah.
So how's the process been looking or working on your new project? Are you like written everything or recording? Where are you kind of at in that?
Yeah, okay. So actually, I have a couple of things in the works. I'm not doing another EP. It
Okay.
was really, really fun, but I think that the game for me right now is singles, and I think that that
Mhm.
does work better. It's also just easier to promote one song at a time instead of being like, here's a project, go listen to them,
Mhm.
even though it was super fun. But back in very late September, I went to the studio, the Sound Emporium, like here in
Mhm.
Nashville,
Yeah.
and I just did a live recording with my band. We did two songs, and I was like, these two songs I have been sitting on for. The one I wrote, it's called Chasing the Sky. I wrote that June,
Mhm.
July-ish, and then Minutes Out, I wrote that with a friend, Casey Burton, who's fabulous, amazing, back in like February. And but I like knew I loved both of those songs. And I was like, these are gonna be my next two releases, no doubt about it. Like whenever I make new music, those are gonna be my next two releases.
Yeah.
And so late September, we did the recording and stuff. And it was a really cool process. It was super duper fun. And then I've been working on the mix with me, my producer and stuff. And the mixes are almost done, but I was like, I'm not gonna try to put it out in 2024 because it'll just get overshadowed by like
Mm.
Thanksgiving and like
Yeah.
Christmas, like all the holidays. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait till the new year. And like Chasing the Sky, I love that one. It's so fun. It's
Yeah.
kind of about like leaving town and like chasing your dreams and stuff. And I feel like that would be such a good start to the new year,
Oh yeah.
like fresh year, like, oh, let's go on a journey, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, those two are like almost done.
Mhm.
So that is super duper exciting. And then I'm thinking I'm gonna make like a like not an EP, but you know how people will make like singles that are multiple songs? I think
Yeah.
I'm gonna do like, yeah, I think I'm gonna do some acoustic tracks like that, where I'll have like a
Nice.
couple of acoustic tracks, and then yeah, we'll see what happens next after that. But that is like the current plan and scope for 2025.
Nice. That's you've got a lot going on, but it seems like you've got it all kind of together. And I've
Yes.
always been a big proponent of like doing the A side, B side single type
Mhm.
situation.
Yes, yeah.
It's almost like a throwback to a older time, and it
Mhm.
just feels really cool. But the one song you were talking about, you said "Chasing the Stars" was one of
Chasing the Sky, yeah.
"Chasing the Sky." That almost feels like a song that would be released on like New Year's Day, like a New Year, New Me type.
Exactly, that's literally what I was thinking. I haven't like looked at the calendar
Yeah.
dates yet, but I'm like, okay, if I get like the album art done, like I feel like the first week of January would be such a cool time to release that song.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Especially if you come up with like a really cool promotional campaign and
Oh
just kind of
yeah.
like think outside the box with it. So
Yeah, and when we were doing it live, I had a videographer come in. Her name is
mm,
Millie. She's insane. She's so good. And she just sent me like she was like, I know your mixes aren't done, but here are the music videos that I like made for it. They're so cool. So I'll have like two music videos for Minutes Out and Chasing the Sky, and I'm so excited. I'm literally so excited.
nice, nice. Is so that's kind of been your focus the last couple of weeks since
Yeah.
the release of Country with a Twist.
Yeah, it has been. I'm like getting ready to graduate school, so this is actually
Mhm.
part of my senior project, which worked out so well, so I can kind of like intertwine it in with school. So, but yeah, this has been my like focus for musically. Yeah.
Nice. How's and you're graduating the end of this semester, or are you
Yeah.
next semester?
No, I have less than a month left of school, like for
Oh,
eternity, which is crazy, but
nice. You know what though? You'll miss it for a little bit, and then you'll realize, yeah, I'm never going back. Like,
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely how it's gonna go. I'm like the kind of person who I like when things end, I know it's like, don't be sad because they ended, be happy because they happened. I'm
yeah,
definitely the kind of person who I'm initially really sad that they end. I'm like, no. And I'm like, oh, I'm ready for new things, like
yeah,
so I feel like it will be like that.
yeah. Well, yeah, because my dad was like, "Hey, you should go back to school and go get like your master's or something," and I'm like,
Mhm. Don't know if
I'm
I could go through that
good.
again.
I'm good. Like, I don't have a problem learning new things, but going through an entire master's program sounds like a
Yeah,
nightmare. So,
I just don't think I could do it again. I feel like for what we spent like everyone spent like 20 years in school.
yep.
Like I just don't think I can do it more. Like
No, 100%, 100%. So, how's the live shows been going? Are you kind of pulling back a little bit because you're getting ready to graduate, or are you kind of ramping it up?
I would say it's like kind of in between. So I remember like back in 22, I was doing like 4 or 5 shows a week, like super
Mhm.
busy, super hustling. And I'm still definitely playing a lot of shows, but I think my focus has been on like actually social media content lately.
Mhm.
just because I know that's like the big thing. Like when I first moved down to Nashville, I was like, oh my gosh, you'll get discovered playing shows. And now like I've heard that was like the 2010 way. And now I've heard like, oh, if you're gonna get discovered, like it's gonna be on social media. So
Yeah.
I'm still playing my shows. I usually play like once a week at least, but doing like a lot more paid gigs kind of thing and
Yeah.
just really focusing on social media. So
Yeah. I think there's definitely something to be said with being selective on the shows that you take,
mhm.
and just like weighing the options of,
Yeah.
okay, is this show gonna bet like am I gonna get paid? Yes, no, and that's like a personal
Right, it's
choice
gonna be
if
good
you
exposure kind of
yeah,
thing, right. That's
yeah,
kinda what I told myself. I was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do quality over quantity,"
yeah.
just make sure that I'm putting my energy in the right places.
Hmm. Nice. How so when you do play, are you primarily just playing around Nashville or are you trying to get out and
Yeah, I've definitely been mostly around Nashville. I've played like one or two shows back in my hometown, which is like in Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
Um, but other than that, really like Nashville focused. But it would be cool to kind of expand, but yeah.
Right. I mean, hopefully next year that once you have like a little bit more free time, you don't got to worry about school.
Yeah.
That'll become a little bit more of a possibility. So
Yeah, honestly though, that could be really cool.
yeah. So what have you obviously studying for finals and whatnot is probably taking up a lot of your time right now, but outside of music, what have you been getting into?
I feel like most of my days are like music driven. Honestly, like I feel like if I have classes, I go to school, which like all my classes are music classes. So like
Mhm.
life is pretty pretty simple in the school department. And then
Yeah.
I like come out and then I like write a song or like I film a video. And if I'm not doing that, I feel like I'm just spending time with like my friends and family. Like
Nice.
it's pretty it's like this or that, honestly.
Fair, fair, fair. And I'm guessing you're studying like music business or
I'm actually studying songwriting.
songwriting? Okay.
Yeah.
I I knew there was a few different options, and I was
Oh
just
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
go
There's so
full
many
send.
different ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool about Nashville that they've really kind of got that infrastructure to like ingratiate new
Yeah.
musicians.
And it's
So
so perfect too because I feel like even like if some place had like a really cool songwriting like
mhm,
program, I feel like you have to be in the right location.
yeah,
Like it has to be like a kind of a big city and Nashville's the perfect place for that where like their community is so welcoming. Like I feel like I've been able over the past couple of years to build a community in Nashville, which is so cool. So like when I graduate, I won't be like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know anybody." It's like, "No, I know all these people like around
yeah,
town, just like, doing their thing." So I think it was really good that it was Nashville for sure.
yeah, for sure. It's one of those things where you're kind of growing up in the industry you want to be in, and
Yeah.
not. I say that's meaning like Nashville being its own
It is,
entity of the music
yeah.
industry. So, which is really cool. So
Yeah.
it's not like you went to Berkeley or something and now you're coming down to
Right, and now
Nashville
you're
and
trying to like almost start over. No.
yeah,
Mm-mm. Yeah.
yeah, that's really cool. How's have are you obviously you're working on the new music and whatnot, but are you currently writing or what do you?
Yeah, lots of writing. I feel like this kind of like past 6 months, I've been really writing a whole lot. Like I like obviously depending on the week, but like I
Yeah,
feel like I'm writing like 3 songs a week, if not more,
nice.
doing lots of co-writes, like meeting people from around town, being like, let's collaborate, see what we can come
Yeah,
up with. Because you come up with insane things when you're working with different people. So yeah, it's been lots of very writing focused in this past
nice.
little season of life, which I love it just because like I feel like if let's say I'm away from my guitar for like a week, I'm on
Mm,
vacation or whatever, I have this like itch. I'm like, oh my God, I haven't written a song in so long. And I'm like, I have to go write something. And I have like, even if I have zero ideas, I like sit down on
mm,
my guitar. I'm like, I need to write something. I just feel it like grinding at me.
mm.
So it's definitely become an addiction, but I'm not mad about it.
Right, right, right. What do you think's inspired this like burst of creativity?
Honestly, I feel like I've always been like it's the right brain, right? That's very like creative. Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
I think so. Anywho, I've always been that kind of person where I just love creating things, whether that's like painting or like making crafts. I've always been that kind of person. I feel like I've really been able to hone in that with my songwriting. And so it's like a way to just be creative and like make new things that like affect people, hopefully in good ways.
Yeah.
So I feel like the more I do it, the more I become like obsessed with it. Because I remember when I was first like I've been writing songs like since I was in first grade.
Yeah.
They were not anything. They were horrendous and like barely a song. But as like time went on, it was like became more and more and more songs just because the more I did it, like the better I got. And so it's just fun, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I,
been fun.
yeah, I almost feel like you need to go back to some of those original songs. Like I'm sure we talked about this back in August, but I feel like that's such a cool idea to go back and visit some of those original ideas.
Oh yeah. Honestly, my dad, he loves like some of the songs like I wrote when I was like, there was this one song, it was called Tears on My Face. I think I wrote it in middle school. And my dad always brings it up. He's like, you should play this song. And I was like, how about I not? But it's so, so sweet.
It's like you're playing a gig in downtown Nashville somewhere, and he just comes up and makes a request. It's like you either gotta figure it out or turn
Yeah.
him down in public.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That's so funny. So, kind of looking forward, obviously 2025 is going to be a busy year, exciting year, which is always good. And before we continue, I do want to thank you for joining us on our pancreatic cancer
Of course, of
fundraiser.
course.
It's a thing near and dear to my heart. So when people say yes, let's do it, it's always very welcoming. So
Good, yay.
yeah. Um, so Country with a Twist is your current EP that's out now. Anybody that wants to listen to it, we'll have it in the description below, all that fun stuff. Um, what you said that was your first like big EP?
Yeah, first big project, first EP ever, you know.
Nice. What were some lessons you took away from that whole experience of writing, recording, releasing?
That's a really good question. I feel like in the writing department, just like being able, because when I write a song, I sometimes get really attached to things I wrote, but being
Hmm.
able to like revise it and like edit it is so, so good because it can take the song from like, oh, that's solid to like, hey, that's kind of something really cool. And like
Yeah.
specifically for Tunnel Vision, that song, like I remember I had written the verse and the chorus and I was like, this is so catchy. Like I love it. I'm obsessed with it when I was writing it. And then I was like, I'm stuck. I have no idea where I want to take this song. And then Casey Burton, who I write with a lot, I mentioned her earlier. She's so fabulous. I have to preface that she's like amazing. But I like took it to her and I was like, listen, I have this song and I can't finish it for the life of me. I need your help and I'm so stinking excited for it. Like, please help me. And so we went back in. We actually like we kept the first verse the exact same. We didn't touch it. But then like the chorus, we totally changed it. Like tweaked the melody. We like tweaked the words. Kind of took the same idea, kind of thing. And then we wrote this song. And originally it had a bridge and it had like a different hook. Like the song was
Nice.
called Tunnel Vision. I think it was called Logical or something like that. And we had this whole thing. And I was like, yes, this song is fire. And I'm like, the hook is not doing it for me. And so
Right.
I spent weeks playing around with it, like, after the fact, after we wrote it. And I finally was like, oh, tunnel vision, like when you're so obsessed with something, it's all you can see, like you're obsessed with this person, but like in a healthy way. And I was
Hmm.
like, that's the hook. That's the hook. And so then I wrote that in. I was like, perfect, fabulous. And then I went to my producer because as you know, like this EP is very country,
Hmm.
but has like a little bit of pop tendencies. And I was like, I went to him and I was like, this is an anomaly. I was like, I want this to be pure pop. Like, I want people to hear like synths. I want there to be like a bass drop, kind of thing. I was like, this is
Yeah.
like, people are gonna be listening to the EP and be like, what is that?
Right.
Which is why Country with a Twist was the perfect name because, it's country, with a twist.
Yeah.
But anywho, so then I took it to him and he's like, yeah, let's do it. He was like, let's like play around and tweak with it. And so we were literally in the studio, and just playing the song, trying to figure out like the timing. So we like edited some
Hmm.
of the chords, we edited some of the timing at the end of the hook. And
Yeah.
then he was like, okay, you may hate this. And he's like, if you do, like I might be overstepping my bounds. So I was like, no, I want like give me
Yeah.
the feedback. Tell me all the things that you initially want to hear but didn't, or like the things that you're like, I didn't like that. Like tell me. That's how you make a great song. And he
Yeah.
was like, I think we can cut the bridge. And I was like, no, because the bridge at the time, it's so catchy. And like maybe I'll use it in another song. It's so
Yeah.
catchy. And I was like, you're right. This song does not need the bridge. And so like
Right.
we were like playing with structure, we were taking things out, just being very flexible and open to
Yeah.
feedback, I think is such a big thing because like you can create amazing things, but with other people, they're going to hear things that you don't hear. They're going to bring insights that you don't know. And so that's probably a really big lesson that I learned from this EP is just being so flexible because then, yeah, we cut it and I was like, oh my gosh, wait, this song, I
Right.
love it. I'm obsessed. And yeah, just working with a bunch of different people, which was so cool because then I'd never worked with this, other guy, Noah, who like produced the whole like made I don't know if produce is the right word. He made like the whole like pop track.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's That's either engineer or producer.
Yeah,
My brain.
he was doing something of the sorts. He like
Mhm,
made that whole bass track, and we still had like live musicians come on, but he was like
mhm.
the root of it. And so like I got to work with him, and I'd never worked with that kind of like, pop energy before, which was really cool. So yeah, just I think my big takeaways for making EP is just being super flexible, open to what other people have to say, like work with new people. But it was a really cool experience. So
Yeah, nice. So did you end up reusing that bridge somewhere else, or
I
is that
haven't
still
yet. You know what's funny is I like forgot that bridge existed until like 3 days ago, and I was like, I need to put that in something
right?
because that was something cool. But yeah,
It,
no.
it's very funny because it's like you write something and you think it's absolutely perfect, and then somebody comes in
Yeah.
worried about telling you how they actually feel about something, and
Yeah.
it's like, nope, give me the feedback. I want
That's
it.
the thing is that's like one of my favorite things when people are like, "Oh, I don't know if I should tell you." I'm like, "Tell me, like please be brutally honest. I'm never going to learn if you're not honest with me."
Right.
So that's why
And
when people are like, "This is my opinion." I'm like, "Yes, tell me. Tell
yeah,
me."
and it's one of those things where it's like, then they come back with that feedback, and it's like, oh, that's not what I wanted to hear. But okay,
Right.
you got to like do this like swallowing of the pride thing where
Yeah.
it's like, okay, yes, I understand.
Right.
Let's do it. So,
Yeah, because then you like think about it, you're like, oh no, like that my song is my baby, and then you're like, no, I can't change it, and you think about it, and you're like, no, wait, that is 10 times better.
right. Yeah. It's like, oh, that's my thing. What are you doing? You're destroying it.
Right,
And yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
So
a little
awesome.
operator, you gotta pick it apart.
Right. 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 So I do really appreciate your time and I don't want to keep you here too much longer, but just kind of, if anybody wants to check out your music, all that fun stuff, where's the best place to find you?
You can find me on any streaming platform under the name Katie James. If you want to check out any of my social medias, it's Katie_James_music. Pretty simple to find, but yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time. And one
Thanks
thing
for
I want to
having me
do,
back.
yeah, absolutely. One thing I want to do here really quick before we wrap up though is what's one piece of advice you have for the young musicians out there?
My one piece of advice, I don't know if you asked me this question last time, but it's never gonna change. I'll always say this because this is like a quote that I live by, but just the answer is always no unless you ask. Like, do
Yes.
not be afraid whether you're asking for help, whether you're asking for advice, whether you're just asking, don't be afraid to ask because the worst they can say is no. And if they say no, you're right back where you are. If they say
Yep.
yes, it could open up possibilities. So I will always stand by that. I live by that day to day, and that'll always be my answer.
100%. I agree. Um, yeah, I don't know if I asked you that last time, but I go through phases of okay, let's ask, and then let's not
I mean, that's
ask.
so fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but once again, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with us. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll be back here in a little bit with our next guest.